My name is Walter Wall. I'm running for Mariposa County District Attorney. The election date is June 7th, 2022. It's coming up in about 50 days from now, a little less than 50 days. And I've been in this office now. This will be my second term in this office since January 1st of 2019. I'm married, have 9 children, lived in this county since 2005. And I love Mariposa County. I love the lifestyle. I love the freedoms that we have and enjoy. I love all of the different natural features of our county. I'm a horseback rider. My wife's a horseback rider. I'm a hiker. I'm a gardener. I like those things. There's a lot of good hiking here. I've hiked the South Fork of the Merced River. I've hiked up in the upper regions of Yosemite, and I love this whole area, the topography, and it's just a pleasure being the district attorney here. As a district attorney, as an office holder, I have some core beliefs. I have the belief that everybody has the right to have the maximum amount of freedom to say what they want and do what they want within the bounds of the law. And I don't think we should criminalize behavior that is otherwise legal, that doesn't affect anybody else's rights. Equally, I believe that the laws that are on the books should be enforced, however, and people should be held accountable for the ways in which they hurt other people. And I think that we need to do that wisely, with discretion, and on a case-by-case basis, looking at all the reasons and motivations for people's actions. I don't personally believe that there are evil people. I just don't believe that. I do believe there are people of bad will who do criminal actions. And I think those people need to be held accountable for that. There are some crimes in our judicial system that we don't have the same remedies that we had even 10 years ago. Unless it's a non-serious, if it's a non-serious, non-violent, non-sex offense, then people are generally not going to go to state prison anymore. In some cases, that's not actually a good thing. We don't have some of the remedies that we used to have. So I don't like that particular aspect of how our legislation is developed in this state. However, for those cases, serious cases in which people do violent things to one another, we do have the right remedies, and we can use those remedies to get some measure of justice for people. And that's what I'm all about, is justice for all. That means it's equally as important if someone is not guilty or there's not sufficient evidence to let that person be free and be innocent, as it is when there is evidence to hold them accountable. I'm a trial attorney in this office that I govern. There are 13 people. We have 4 attorneys, 4 secretaries, 4 victim witness advocates, and 1 investigator. That's the total staff of the district attorney's office. And we use that staff with all of our, with all of our work ethic to come every day, day in and day out, to do justice. What does that mean? That means we get cases that are referred to us from the sheriff and from the CHP, and we review those cases. Sometimes we get cases from Fish and Game and from other law enforcement agencies. We review those cases, and the district attorney determines whether or not there's a crime involved in the activities that are alleged to have taken place by the referral from that law enforcement agency. And then the biggest power that the district attorney has is to call something a crime and accuse people of it. The sheriff or the CHP can arrest all they want, But until the district attorney says it's a crime, and accuses somebody of it, our system of checks and balances, it isn't a crime. It isn't a crime until this office, the district attorney's office, says so. And the reason we have that system set up that way is so that we have independent electeds. Independent sheriff is elected, and he can accuse people of crime, arrest people of crime, keep peace and order. But then we have another independent elected, me, the district attorney's office, who accuses people. And you can see sometimes where there's a conflict between those two things, and that's why each office is independently elected on a county-wide basis. And I try to do my office in a way that is objective and according to the evidence. So nobody gets any special favors, not one way or the other. It doesn't matter who you are. That's where justice for all comes in. Because just because you are somebody doesn't mean that you can get away with a criminal act. No one is above the law. We're all accountable to it. We are a system of the law, and that's what makes what makes for peace and order, law and order. And law and order is kind of the baseline that from there you can have abundance, variety, leisure. You can do things that please you and things that are fun to do, and you can do it in a peaceful fashion. That's great. And that's why we need law and order. And that's why we have the independent elected district attorney to make certain that law and order is kept for our community. And we also, it doesn't end there. We try to give back. Each of my employees is involved in the community in one way or another, either personally through their family or in service groups, etc. I happen to be part of the Rotary. I also happen to be a very proud clamper. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a historical society in our jurisdiction. And the district attorney's office functions in a way where we look at the evidence and we have a standard. That is, we have to be able to prove the charges against someone beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury, an objective jury of 12 people. And that's where that objectivity comes in. It doesn't matter who you are, it matters what the evidence is. And if there's not sufficient evidence, we don't bring the charges. If there is sufficient evidence, we bring the charges and we hold people accountable. Now, some crimes are eligible for diversion. Some veterans, for example, have PTSD, and the law recognizes that sometimes they do things because they have served this country and it has made a difficult time of re-entry or a difficult period of time after their service. And so we have diversion. We have the ability to, in their cases, to take into account their service, to take into account their mental state, and to divert for veterans who have caused crime in our community. Similarly with drug addiction. Drug sales, like the things where we have these big marijuana grows from criminal street gangs that come into our area and grow thousands of plants and have assault rifles. Those crimes we need to hold accountable, and we need to hold them strictly accountable because those are dangerous people doing dangerous acts. But a person who simply has an addiction, who is under the influence, and I'm not talking about a DUI where they're under the influence and out on the road putting people at risk. I'm talking about in their personal life, they've taken a little meth or something like that. We try to divert those crimes as well. We try to get them into the drug court. We try to help them to beat that addiction. And to that extent, we kind of say decriminalize the behavior in order to address the root cause so we can help them to help themselves. So in my mind, that's the way that justice is done for those cases. And then we get a lot of DV cases, domestic violence. And in those cases, sometimes we're at odds with the victim. The victim doesn't want us to go forward. They don't think it's a crime. And we say, well, you're trapped in a cycle of violence. And we, despite their not wanting us to go forward, we have to go forward with those because we have to hold the defendant accountable for their violent actions against that individual. So in the end, it's about accountability. It's also about transparency. I'm a public servant. I serve my office humbly. I take tax dollars to do that. And so all of my information about this office is available through a thing called Measures for Justice. Measures for Justice has a portal that you can go on, and it will have the information via a link to Mariposa County, California, and you can look up all of our statistics. And that same link is on the county's website for the Mariposa County District Attorney. And you can look at and measure and think about all of those things that you're interested in as a constituent. But I love this county. I love working in this job, and I am proud and honored to be chosen to have done this job. And I have an open door policy. That is, if you think that I'm not doing my job, or if you think you have a question about how that job is being done, call me, email me, write me, talk to me, and I'll address that. I will continue to keep that because accountability and transparency is just equally as important in the discharge of this office. And it is something that I'm very, very keen to make sure that the voters' trust, the trust you've put in me to do that job, is won over every single term, is won over every single day, because that's what I do and that's what I should do as your elected district attorney. Thank you so much, voters of Mariposa County, for electing me, for considering me on June 7th, and I look forward to serving. Thank you.